you for clicking on my video. I'm Sharon from Grace's Neighbor Sharon, and I hope you enjoy today's projects. Let's get to crafting. This video is part of the 4th Friday Open Challenge. This month's theme is Fall or Thanksgiving, and I'll jump in with more details after the first project. So starting things off with a easy harvest shadow box. And this video is all about end table decor. So this is an easy end table decor. It actually comes from Dollar Tree, almost perfect. It's got the buffalo chick background, the black wood border, and the nice aqua, like a pastel color. It's just the sparkly cursive words just don't match, just don't go with the rest of it. So I'm going to fix that by using some scrapbook paper and a Cricut harvest word. And you'll see I had painted on that scrapbook paper before and then abandoned it, but there is enough left to cover my pumpkin. So I was happy about that because the color goes right with what I wanted. So I'm making a little beading tool here. I used the floral wire that I just showed you, and I just fold it on the bottom and set the jute into the folded area, so it's almost like a darning needle. And I just threaded the beads onto the wire and then pulled them down. A couple times I had to hold them with pliers because the holes are pretty tight, but it worked out beautifully. I'm just going to use some hot glue and a staple to get them on the back and try to get it on the wood border because the backing isn't quite thick enough and it will show through. I had to trim the part of the staple that went through there. See, I trim it at the front and then I push the wire through. So then on the second one, I make sure to get it onto the wood of the border and no fixing needed. And I played around with the length of the hanging wire. The first time I did it was actually too short and I had to redo it. And I'm really happy that I made it a little bit longer like this. So I'm going to finish up the pumpkin now. The Mod Podge is dry. I trimmed off some of the scrapbook paper and I'm just going to cover with parchment paper. And my Hippo heat press, or mini heat press. And this heats up so quickly and just so nice and smooth. I'm so glad I invested in one. And that was courtesy of Tammy from the Rusted Willow. She had a discount for all her subscribers. So it was a really good deal if you want to check it out. I just did a loose trim and used my sanding sponge to get rid of the overhang. And I also love the sanded edges. You know, some people do stitches or lines or wiggles or whatever, but sanding leaves a nice whitish border that defines the pumpkin. So that's something you might want to consider if you haven't tried it before. And I'm going to take my harvest word that I did on my Cricut Joy, and I'm just going to pull it down a little bit so it's not totally in the middle. And that's just to give the room for the bow, so the bow doesn't cover my nice word, and you can see each without the other, you know, covering over. So since I already made the bow, instead of just tying it around the stalk, I'm just going to glue what I already made down, and I use my Cricut spatula to get rid of the excess glue. And we're almost done here. I'm going to dovetail this ribbon. It's a pretty ribbon, and the dovetailing just makes it that much prettier. I just used hot glue on those little sponge. They're like little spongy they're like tumbling tower blocks, but they're spongy. It's like a hard sponge. But here you have it. I'm going to give you a closer look at it at the final reveal. The Fourth Friday Open Challenge is hosted every month by Lisa from Our Grey House and Sarah from JUJUBE DIY. This month's guest host is Emily from Farm Charm Chic. This month's theme is Fall or Thanksgiving. So show everybody some love. The host channel links will be in my description box below, and a playlist link will also be in my description box below. You can choose play all from the playlist link page, and YouTube will show you every video one after the other. So sit back and enjoy. Okay, project number 2 is a harvest pumpkin, and I mean that in the most literal sense. We're going to put the word harvest on skewer sticks, each individual letter on one stick, and poke them into the Dollar Tree pumpkin and make like an end table decor. So I'm trimming these, and I was going to stick a skewer in between them and glue them together, but it turns out the paper these colors are on is too stiff and it's too small surface area, and it just didn't work. So I ended up putting felt on the back, but I'll show you the process. So this is Mod Podge, and I'm just affixing the individual letters in each square, and then I'm going to go over them again just to make sure they are down there good. I take the neon green pumpkin stalk off, and then I flip it over and make a little hatch that I can use to put pool noodle foam in. I kind of wanted like floral foam to be able to stick the skewers onto, but I couldn't see how to get that in there, so I'm just gonna cut these smaller ones and just jam them in there and hopefully give the skewers something to grab onto. And then I think I just use Mod Podge on that hatch, but you could use hot glue if you wanted. It actually popped up a little, and I didn't have to shave off a bit at the end to make it sit, excuse me, to make it sit flat. So I'm using a combination of a chalk paint yellow, salmon or coral, and then some acrylic orange. And I do the muddy color all over, and then that acrylic orange in the middle there, I put that on the rounded ridge parts because it's more like a highlight because it's a brighter color. And then I'm going to cut these letters off, and it just so happened that they fit quite nicely on the individual colors on these paint sample strips. So at this point, I was just understanding that the square wasn't going to fit in between, but I went ahead and put it on the back anyway. At the least, it just makes them firmer and easier to work with. So this was the felt that I knew I had for sure, and I might have some buried somewhere else in my stash, but this was easy access. Now I should have flipped it over because the letters are actually going to cover any marks left by taking off the embellishments. It was like Thanksgiving football embellishments. So what I end up doing is laying out the felt, a strip of glue, a skewer, and then more hot glue on the letter and put that over top of the skewer. So just a bit of hot glue there. And you could probably also cut the felt into individual squares first and do it that way. I'm sure that would work just fine. And another thing too, you could probably cut these skewers beforehand, because I'm going to end up cutting them when I put them in the pumpkin. For now, I left them because it's easy to get those beads on there like that. That's how I want it to look, and then I'm going to show you how I do that on one of them. So the H is done. I'm showing you how to do the A. I've got a medium-sized bead, a large bead, another medium-sized bead, and then I make a small finger bow. And it's not a true finger bow, it's more like a mini finger bow. You could do a shoelace bow, or you could double up your jute and do a double shoelace bow. I just like a thin finger bow like this. I wind the jute around my fingers, and look, it comes out looking like a regular finger bowl. I just wind it around my fingers like about 3 times, and then tie some knots and get some twine hanging down. And that was the look I wanted. So I shaved, I didn't show it, I shaved a little bit off the bottom. And then I had these cool sticks from Dollar Tree. I bought a bag of sticks from Dollar Tree, and they make great pumpkin sticks or pumpkin stalks. And I should have like decorated it before I put all the skewers in, but I wasn't thinking. I was like, oh yay, I finally get to put them in. So I cut them down almost halfway, but I tried not to make them even because I kind of liked the idea of them just sticking in here and there. And then when I was happy with that, I put a little bit more embellishments. And you'll find when you put the skewers in, you might have to play around with the angle of the stick to get it to poke through those pool noodles that are inside. But once I got them all to where I was happy with the placement, I did some embellishment. I'll give you a better, closer look at it at the final reveal. Okay, third and final project of this video is a fall field shelf sitter. And before I get into this, I just want to thank all my new viewers and my new subscribers, because my last video had an enormous amount of views, and I don't know where y'all are coming from, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you want to let me know how you found out about my channel, you can do so in the comments. It might be cool to see where everyone's coming from. So I started things off by removing the tag with a wet paper towel and Cricut scraper. There was still a little bit of adhesive left, but I wasn't worried about it because it's going to be covered up. I sanded down the glitter side and covered it with some Dollar Tree vinyl. And then on the side that I took the tag off, I put some scrapbook paper down. This is actually the back side, but I'm using it as a front. That's how I usually do it. So just fitted that on at the edge there, covered it with some parchment paper, and then used my Hippo heat press to reactivate the Mod Podge underneath. And beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's all I can say. I love this style of decoupage. If you do well with the wet decoupage and all the tricks with the plastic and everything, then you do you, but this is what I love doing, and I also love how it turns out. And I love how it looks with the edges being sanded afterwards, and it has to be dry to achieve that look, and it just works for me, and I just love it. So I'm getting my Cricut words out now. My Cricut Joy rearranges things to print, and that's fine with me because I don't mind cutting them the way they need to be. So for example, Fall Feels is actually 2 separate lines, but my Cricut Joy printed them on the same lines, so I just cut them in half. And then the leaf that I printed up was a little bit different, and I Cricut Joy image, and I changed it up a little bit, made it all one color, and I'm going to weed out most of the color at the end. You'll see how I do it. And I just want to show you real quick how I put the transfer tape on top, and I'm trying to get the transfer tape to match the surface area of the paper that the word's on. So I trim it to size, and then I flip it upside down, and the transfer tape part becomes the bottom part, and I pull up the paper. In talking, it sounds weird, but if you look at it, it actually makes sense. So once I got that on the transfer tape, then I'm just going to put it down right on the bottom. Use my Cricut scraper to make sure it's on there, and then just slowly pull off the transfer tape. Now comes the little leaf I was telling you about, and see how I just weed out the color, because I thought the look of that outline would be cool, and you could see the color of the scrapbook paper through it, which I like, and I think the contrasting colors is pretty cool as well. Now, I love the shape of this pumpkin, but I was kind of getting lost. So I grabbed some of my Dollar Tree red and tan twine, and I used that to accentuate the border, because the way the corners go on the border here is pretty much what I like about this whole shape. I'm just using hot glue and my Cricut scraper to get the shape of the corners there. You want to do each straight line one at a time so you don't lose the overall shape. I grabbed a bow that I had saved from a previous pumpkin shape, and I made a shoelace bow with that same twine, and I will give you a better look at this project during the final reveal. And now, the final reveal. I wanted to show you that this pretty harvest pumpkin can be both a shelf sitter or hanging decor. The hanging cord looks pretty either way. Now, this harvest pumpkin might seem a little bit crazy to some, but you know, if you have a lot of other Thanksgiving things, then this could be a fun addition. And finally, you might not have noticed, but I actually outlined the fall feels words because I felt like there wasn't enough change in color between the words and the background. I had a very small like a fine tip Cricut pen that I used to do it. Hope you enjoyed my last fall video. Some Christmas inspiration is coming soon. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a big thumbs up. See you soon.